other print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Welcome to our Around Our Area, a weekly look at community newspapers from around Western New York. Your reader for this hour is Patricia. Starting with the Amherst Bee for December 4th from the front page. New LED lighting approved in Village of Williamsville by Joseph Clinart. The Village of Williamsville Board of Trustees approved an agreement with National Grid to replace decorative pole lighting all around the village. The 166 HPS bulbs will be converted to LEDs for the price of $6,894.53, with an estimated energy efficiency incentive of $8,900. Additionally, each new light will be carriage styled with a shield, with each shield costing $36.25 for a total of $6,017.50. There will be 6 lights on Hirschfield Avenue that are not part of this round of replacements. However, they will be replaced as the lights burn out. In other news, several Williamsville business owners addressed the board regarding music playing throughout the week and how it impacts the residents and businesses. After Music on Main, several residents have expressed concern over the loud music throughout the week, but businesses say the music draws in more people for the village to thrive. We are only discussing having no amplified sound Sundays through Wednesdays. We understand businesses need to make money, and Thursday night to Sunday brunch will not be changed at all because we know that is the time businesses thrive, said Village of Williamsville Mayor Christine Hunt. We are here to support all the events that go on in the village. Our goal is to have the 5,000 residents of the village know they will have some nights of quiet. We are not trying to interfere with something that has already been established. We are trying to compromise with everybody and support our tax-paying village residents. The village board has also expressed its commitment to keeping the village green and environment preserved through the Village of Williamsville Tree Board and Village of Williamsville Environmental Advisory Commission. With these two committees, the board mentioned how the village celebrated both Arbor Day and Earth Day. The board mentioned every resident should be good stewards of air, water, land, flora, and fauna in order to provide a high quality of life and preserve the environment. The board also approved that all vehicles owned by the village must only be operated by employees of the Village of Williamsville. Lastly, with the holiday season coming up, the board took time to look forward to the Village Holiday Market on Saturday, December 6th, as well as wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful to be here for the village, said Hunt, to be able to help our constituents, businesses, and getting through the things we have to get through. I'm thankful for all the support I get from everyone. Continuing with the front page of the Amherst Bee for December 4th. Board overwhelmingly approves library renaming by Amy Wallace. The town of Amherst took a big step in honoring Diversity Monday when the Amherst Town Board unanimously voted to rename the main library after the Honorable Shirley Chisholm. Amherst Councilwoman Angela Marinucci sponsored the resolution to rename the Amherst Main Library at Audubon after former U.S. Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, who was the first woman of color to be elected to Congress and to run for president. The town board voted to rename the Amherst Library at Audubon as the Honorable Shirley Chisholm Library following a public hearing on the renaming. A public hearing wasn't required for a resolution to be brought to the board by Councilwoman Marinucci, but she wanted to, and I agree, for transparency and to hear from the residents, Amherst Supervisor Brian Kulpa said. Chisholm lived in Williamsville with her second husband, Arthur Hardwick Jr., a former New York State legislator, from 1983 until 1991 after his death. She is laid to rest in Forest Lawn Cemetery next to Hardwick. Chisholm, who was the first African-American woman elected to Congress, and as a congresswoman was the first African-American woman to declare her candidacy for President of the United States in 1972. Even though she didn't earn the necessary votes for the Democratic nomination, her place in history was secured. Marinucci said that Chisholm was a longtime hero of hers and first learned about her while in college. Hers is a legacy everyone can look up to, and we should be proud she was a part of our town, Marinucci said. Marinucci presented the plan to the Library Board of Trustees on October 21st, who voted 4-1 in support of renaming. According to Amherst Branch Library's Executive Director, Christy Dougherty, there are 9 members on the Library Board of Trustees. For the October 21st vote, 4 were in support of the renaming, 2 abstained, and 1 was against, and 2 were absent. I have lived here for more than 50 years, Carolyn Giambra, library trustee, said. I have seen Amherst make positive changes for that time. I am proud to support this effort. Marilyn Ferrerstein, a library trustee, said that the vote the library board took was not official and just a draft. It was passed by the majority who were in attendance, Giambra said. The Audubon Library itself is not actually named after John James Audubon and is named the Amherst Main Library at Audubon after the area where it's located. Chisholm received the Presidential Medal of Freedom and was an expert in early childhood education. A director of special projects for the town, Liz Barakowski, said. The town received letters of support of the renaming from New York State Senator April Baskin and Sean Ryan, along with from State Assemblywoman Karen McMahon and Congressman Tim Kennedy. Baskin spoke at the public hearing of her support of the resolution. I would not be who I am or where I am today if it weren't for her inspiration, Baskin said. You really are a trendsetter, Amherst, for our region, to be the first to take this bold step. Others echoed her sentiment. I've always admired Shirley Chisholm, Robert McLennan said. I thought it was a brilliant idea, a no-brainer. Some in attendance at the meeting suggested the library be named after Mary F. Babinski, the longtime library director. No one has ever suggested naming the library after Mary Babinski until now, Judy Fajko said. Only after it was suggested to name it after a black woman. There are no prominent black people honored in all of Amherst. Libraries represent us all. Others like Joe Wojciech and Larry Hunter questioned what Chisholm ever did for the town. All of the library materials will not have to be updated to mark the change. According to Marinucci, it can be done as new materials are brought in. Continuing with the Amherst Bee for December 4th, a couple letters to the editor. Stop the law to ban natural gas. I would like to support the request to stop the law banning natural gas in new buildings. This idea was tried in the 1970s and it failed. Doesn't anyone know it didn't work? Was there no research done on what works best for the home builders and our new homeowners? Our home in Williamsville was built in 1976 during a moratorium on natural gas. That was a bad idea. We bought our home in 1980, and it had a heat pump, another bad idea. The house was cold, and HVAC companies didn't know how to make this new technology work. As soon as the moratorium was lifted, we installed a natural gas line and a gas furnace. And this is signed Martha Neary, McNear Road, Williamsville. Another letter. Concerned citizens are not discouraged. Since the recent election, Amherst Concerned Citizens has been the subject of negative commentary in letters to the editor and in Be Heard. If the intent was to discourage or disband our coalition, it has not succeeded. In fact, the opposite has occurred. More residents have joined our group since the election. We remain steadfast in our mission. Amherst Concerned Citizens is a coalition of residents committed to promoting openness, accountability, and integrity in local government and decision-making. Our growing membership reflects the community's desire for transparency and fairness, and we will continue to advocate for these principles with dedication and resolve. And this was signed Andrea Morgante, Woodshire Court, Gettsville. And turning to the Be Heard column, first comment. For the people of Amherst, we have a gubernatorial race next year, which we have a very poor governor in Hochul, but a poor choice in Elise Stefanik, as she is too right-wing to win for governor of New York State. Bruce Blakeman, the Nassau County Republican executive, would be a stronger candidate because he can get a lot of votes in New York City. We need new Republican town leadership in Amherst, a new county Republican leadership, because they can't win anything. Next comment. The Amherst Senior Center new class registration policy discriminates against non-resident members. After years of contributing to the betterment of the center, suddenly they are punished for being non-residents. This discrimination does not make Amherst or the Senior Center look very good. Why is the Amherst board letting this happen? Next comment. We really need the police to do something about these crazy drivers. And the final comment. I disagree with the proposed Audubon Library name change. If it must change, let it reflect the location, Amherst Main Library, Gettsville. If it must change to honor persons, let it be Mary Babinski, former director of Amherst Public Libraries, Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Shirley Chisholm is recognized where her roots were in Brooklyn, New York, where a state park has been named for her. There is also the Shirley Chisholm Trail in Palm Coast, Florida, where she retired. Her connection to Buffalo is mainly that her second husband was from here. If the insistence is to change the name, it's time to honor Mary Babinski, who was instrumental in the creation of the Audubon Library, working closely with architects and design teams. You are listening to Around Our Area on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 2:10. Turning to the Clarence Bee for December 4th from the front page. Legion Post 838 seeks candidates for Girls State by Emily Vargo. For the first time, American Legion Post 838 is looking to send one Clarence High School junior to Girls State this summer, a one-week program focused on civic engagement, patriotism, and more. Girls learn about state and local government by running a mock government with campaigning, public speaking, elections, and developing legislative proposals, Post 838 told the Bee when describing the program. Rigorous daily schedules are followed. The program challenges girls mentally and encourages them socially and politically. This nationally recognized program helps to build confident and responsible leaders. The ideal applicant will have a desire to increase her civic involvement, develop leadership skills, leave her comfort zone to improve herself, and bring others along to civil discourse and engagement. It has been a long-standing tradition for Post 838 to sponsor anywhere from 1 to 3 boys for Boys State, a similar program where hundreds of high school juniors come together as a mock government to propose and vote on bills, some of which reach the actual legislature and become real laws. After decades of sponsoring young men for Boys State, the members of Post 838 had a question: how can young women participate in a similar opportunity? This question led them to Girls State, and although Girls State participants are typically sponsored by a Legion auxiliary, Post 838's members are determined to sponsor a girl this summer and hope to continue sponsoring girls in future years since their auxiliary is no longer active. Boys State and Girls State have several things in common. Both are very competitive, span the nation, and encourage traits like responsible citizenship, leadership, and patriotism. Post 838 said, both were created for the same purpose, to an antidote to apathy about government in the 1930s and early 1940s. They differ in some areas, though, as Boys State has a stronger military aspect and works with the U.S. Marines, while Girls State does not. The official website emphatically states that Girls State is not a U.S. or women's history lesson or a sports or recreational camp. Instead, it describes the program as workshops in government process, running campaigns, and writing bills, along with the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance every day and participation in ceremonies for flag raising and lowering and POW/MIA. CHS junior girls must contact high school guidance counselor Genevieve Fuller by January 5th, 2026, to apply for Girls State. Then candidates will participate in interviews in January. A primary and alternate candidate will be chosen by February 1st, and Girls State 2026 will run from June 30th through July 6th at SUNY Brockport. Learn more by contacting the CHS Guidance Office, visiting empire-girls-state.org, or watching the documentary Girls State. CHS junior boys interested in Boys State should also contact their guidance counselor, as Post 838 will continue sponsoring Boys State candidates too. Continuing with the Clarence Bee for December 4th, Clarence's strategic plan builds on a strong foundation by Matt Frame, Clarence Central School Superintendent. Every successful journey starts with a clear sense of direction, and for nearly 30 years, Clarence has relied on a community-driven planning process to help chart the course for our district. Each year, a group of students, staff, parents, and community members come together to review how we're doing, identify areas for growth, and help shape the direction of our school community. It's a process that keeps us aligned and focused on what matters most for kids. This past spring, our strategic planning committee dug into survey feedback, student performance data, and the lived experiences of people who spend their days in our classrooms and hallways. Their conversations were thoughtful and candid, and they offered exactly the kind of insight a healthy school system needs. Since then, our team has spent the fall refining the plan, clarifying our priorities, and making sure the work ahead is both ambitious and doable. The result is our 2025 to 2026 strategic plan, a roadmap built around 4 focus areas that reflect where we want to grow and what our community expects. People First Always is our commitment to deepening a culture where talented educators want to come, stay, and grow. We know that students thrive when the adults around them feel supported, trusted, and appreciated. This priority centers on improving onboarding, expanding professional learning, strengthening collaboration across roles, and making sure we celebrate our people often and well. Learning for a Changing World acknowledges that Western New York and the world beyond it is evolving quickly. Our goal is to give students experiences that build critical thinking, problem solving, digital fluency, and global awareness. That means more project-based learning, stronger partnerships with local organizations, and instructional practices that connect lessons to real-world contexts. Progress with Purpose is our balanced approach to instructional technology. We're excited by what emerging tools, including artificial intelligence, can offer, but we also know that innovation must be grounded in wellness and responsible use. This priority focuses on consistent guidelines, digital wellness, strong support for teachers, and thoughtful review of what truly moves learning forward. Finally, safety and belonging remains at the heart of our work. We want every child and adult to walk into school each day feeling physically safe and emotionally connected. This includes maintaining strong safety protocols, investing in mental health supports, and fostering the kind of inclusive culture where every student feels seen and valued. In Clarence, we're proud of our longstanding commitment to strategic planning and grateful to the many people who helped shape it. With this year's plan in place, we're continuing the work of making sure our schools remain places where students learn, grow, and thrive today and for many years to come. You're listening to Around Our Area on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Turning to the Cheektowaga Bee, the time is 2:20. This is the Bee for December 4th. From the front page. Cheektowaga faces backlog of roads, sewer, and infrastructure projects in 2026. By Michael Pulse. Cheektowaga is heading into the new year with a substantial list of road, sewer, and infrastructure improvements to address, prompting the town officials to outline the work and funding needs that will shape their priorities in 2026. Supervisor Brian Nowak said the town is a little behind the 8 ball on capital projects, including infrastructure and road work. The outgoing members of the town board did not want to bond for some important things, so we weren't able to get as much of the infrastructure work done this past year, he added. He said the first board he worked with during his initial year as supervisor had some of the same philosophy regarding completing capital projects on a cash basis. Nowak said the town is currently about 100 streets behind based on what he's been told by Highway Superintendent Richard Rosiniak. As much as he wants to play catch-up, he said he doesn't believe the town can. We're going to be behind the 8 ball for a number of years going into the future, he added. Still, he said the town must address its most critical needs, which will require a robust paving program. He also expressed confidence in the upcoming board, which will feature 5-2 Democratic majority, opposed to the current 5-2 Republican majority, to provide the highway department the money they need to get back to paving roads like Nowak says they did when he was a councilman. He added that the town is going to have to do some work for heavy equipment bonding because the budget that was passed for the 2026 cut funds that Nowak put in the preliminary budget to be used on equipment for the sewer, sanitation, and parks department. He said that the town board also has to work on some sewer projects as part of their New York State Department of Environmental Conservation order that they are a little behind on, as well as a few storm drainage projects. I'm confident this board is going to be willing to do some responsible borrowing for things, he said. I've talked with the incoming members about these things to certain degrees, and what's refreshing is everybody's got a little bit different answer. They're coming in with their own ideas and their own perspective on things but they'll be willing to make the investments we need in the town. He added that the town is looking to the beginning of 2026 to figure out a rough estimate of how much money they will give the highway department for storm drainage and road improvement projects. However, Nowak states again that he doesn't believe the town will be able to complete all of the projects in a year. Nowak said last week he and New York State Senator April Baskin were talking about acquiring some money for the town's main pump station, which is in need of repairs, adding that he has to talk to her in more detail. However, he said he is looking forward to an announcement coming from her that will help cover the town's costs. Nowak also said he wants to review the town's zoning map on a town-wide basis and make adjustments so that if someone wants to build, for example, a retail store, the zoning map already answers the question they might have, because right now retailers have to come to the town board over and over to ask questions and seek changes, according to Nowak. I want to see a zoning map that makes it less challenging for private property owners to redevelop, he added. Nowak used car washes as an example, stating that there is no zoning in town people who want to open a car wash can actually go to. Anytime somebody wants to open a car wash, they have to come before the town board for rezoning. That's something that we should work on to address in a town-wide rezoning. But at the same time, Nowak doesn't want to make changes to the zoning map that allows people to build something like an asphalt plant next to someone's house. He also emphasized changing the zoning map's general guidelines as opposed to overly specific parts of it. It's not like I want this or I want that, he added. He compared the zoning map to a comprehensive plan, stating that when a particular instance comes up, the zoning map should help answer people's questions. Nowak hopes a resolution that makes adjustments to the zoning map comes to the table in 2026, But he said the town has to find some funding to support a rezoning effort because it comes at a decent price tag, adding that the board has to make sure the town is affordable for people. Nowak also said he has other priorities right now, and as important as adjustments to the zoning map are, there are other pressing needs that need to get funded first. However, he hopes the town can get the money from county and state partners to support adjustments to the zoning map. Continuing with the Cheektowaga Bee for December 4th from the front page, Cheektowaga High School Winter Concert to feature alumni by Michael Pulse. Cheektowaga Central High School will host its annual winter concert at 7 p.m. Wednesday, December 17th in the high school auditorium, 3600 Union Road. The program will feature performances by the high school chorus, band, and jazz ensemble. Alumni will also join choral and band students on stage for several songs. The concert is free to attend and will last a little more than an hour. Sean Ryzik, the high school band and jazz ensemble director, said most of the alumni performing with the students are recent graduates of the school. He said the graduates are encouraged to wear their college sweatshirts, if applicable, during the performance. Alumni will join the band to perform a Christmas festival by Leroy Anderson, a classic medley that includes popular holiday songs such as Jingle Bells and Deck the Halls. The band will also perform an arrangement of the Ukrainian Bell Carol by Richard Saucedo titled Brazilian Bell Carol, which Ryzik said incorporates a Brazilian rhythm that helps students learn multicultural and diverse styles. The program will also include Anderson's Sleigh Ride, a widely recognized Christmas piece. These selections will be performed by current band students only, without alumni participation. Alumni will again join students to perform the Christmas carols Ding Dong Merrily on High by Charles Wood and Carol of the Bells by Mykola Lonovich during the choral portion of the performance. The choral students will perform Holiday Blessing and That's Christmas to Me without alumni. The jazz ensemble, which will not include alumni, will perform a medley of songs from A Charlie Brown Christmas composed by Vince Guaraldi. The ensemble will also perform a funk version of the Christmas carol We Three Kings by John Henry Hopkins Jr. Ryzik said about 20 to 30 high school band alumni and 20 to 30 high school chorus alumni return each year to perform alongside the students during the annual winter concert. He said some alumni who graduated from Cheektowaga in the 1980s came back last year to perform, and some graduates from the mid-2010s, a few of whom are now music teachers, also return. Ryzik, who has worked at Cheektowaga for 26 years and will be conducting the jazz ensemble and band, said, "You start remembering the certain traits of the kids you taught as you're conducting during the concert." He said conducting the alumni also brings back memories of good experiences he's had with them when they were students. Ryzik, who also teaches band lessons to Cheektowaga middle school students, said he has known most of the alumni since they were in 7th grade. He added that he sees their growth, presence, and maturity when conducting them. You are listening to Around Our Area on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 2:30. Turning to the Lancaster Bee for December 4th from the front page. Lancaster Youth Bureau helping keep families fed, clothed, and happy this holiday season by James Sinner. Lancaster Youth Bureau Director John Trojanowski is keeping busy this holiday season, reporting to the Town of Lancaster Board on Monday evening about 2 upcoming holiday initiatives. The Bureau will first get involved with Project Sticker Shock on December 15th. Visiting the 4 local Tops markets in Lancaster to place stickers emphasizing the drinking age laws and fines for giving alcohol to kids. This project is one the Bureau has been proud to promote for roughly 25 years. The Tops store contacted me recently that we will be the 300th visit putting stickers on the alcoholic beverages, Trozanowski said. We do this twice a year. In June, we do it with our team volunteers, and in December, we do it with the Depew High School SAD chapter. On December 17th, the Youth Bureau will host the annual Day of Giving, where toys and gifts for the holiday season will be collected and dispensed to community members in need. The annual event works in partnership with Lancaster Central School District. To qualify for the program, families in Western New York must meet New York State Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, eligibility, including proof of income and identification. Trozanowski said that he expects the number who utilize this charitable program will grow from last year. They keep coming in every day, he said, almost on the hour. There's someone stopping in. The deadline to apply for participation in the Day of Giving is December 10th, which must be done in person at the Lancaster Youth Bureau at 200 Oxford Road. Individuals with questions are encouraged to call the organization at 716-683-4444. The Bureau also reported a successful Thanksgiving meal distribution this November. We had 104 families with 271 children who received a complete Thanksgiving dinner and additional groceries, Trozanowski said. Plus, we had a winter coat drive, so many of the families were able to get winter coats. In other town news, Matt Figioni, the town's code enforcement officer, spoke about a recent tragedy in Buffalo and the importance of checking your smoke protectors or detectors in the colder months. I'm very heartbroken that 2 kids had passed away in a house fire in the city of Buffalo, he said. I don't know the particulars about it, but every time a child is involved, it leaves an impression. Figioni urged residents to check their smoke detectors and furnace flue pipes to help prevent a potential tragedy. Residents approaching the board included Kevin Leemaster, who said he was having trouble finding a solution for a neighbor's bright floodlight. Leemaster said his neighbor has installed a floodlight he believes is inappropriate, and after speaking with the neighbor was unsuccessful, he's not sure what to do next. According to Leemaster, the problem started in October. The light was actually coming into my home, even with the blinds shut. It's coming into the house, he said. I even offered to reimburse him for the light and have my electrician install the new one that we would both be satisfied with. It was all rejected. Leemaster said he tried communicating with code enforcement, but Figioni was unable to assist. I did drive by the house one evening dark, and sure enough, the light was spilled onto the road and house across the street, but there's no code citation in our local law, Figioni said. Most of these residential issues that have light spillage from one property to another are civil matters at best. They are not code related. There is no state law that prevents that, nor local law that prevents that. We had an opportunity last year to make that change, but it only ended up in the commercial portion of our zoning districts. Leemaster said that he would take Figioni's advice and seek a path through civil litigation if required. Continuing with the Lancaster Bee for December 4th, there's plenty of holiday cheer in the village of Lancaster by William Schroeder, Lancaster Village Mayor. As we enter into the holiday season, on behalf of myself and the Village of Lancaster Board of Trustees, we would like to extend our best wishes to you and your families for a joyous holiday season. This is a wonderful time of the year in the village. We held our annual Christmas tree lighting ceremony Friday with the additions of hot chocolate provided by our local Moose Club, working alongside the Lancaster Fire Department. In addition, local Buffalo Bills member Joe Andresen threw the switch to light a beautiful Christmas tree. Despite the cold weather, we had a wonderful crowd in attendance. Our merchants were open for holiday shoppers, and the crowd enjoyed a nice evening filled with holiday spirit, aided by legislator Frank Todaro, who arranged for the county stage to be used by our guests. The Christmasville Fire Truck Parade arrived Saturday evening, bringing around 200 brightly decorated vehicles and floats to the village of Lancaster. Both the tree lighting and parade enlist the help of many volunteers, and they all do wonderful jobs. Why? Because they care about our community and enjoy helping out. Over the weekend, the village also dedicated a tree in memory of Richard and Lucy Grobleski, who launched the Lancaster Garden Walk 2003, now a staple event in our community. The ceremony was attended by family and friends of the late couple, along with village officials, members of the Forestry Advisory Board. The tree was planted near the entrance to Keuka Creek Park on West Main Street and stands as a lasting acknowledgement of the work that both Richard and Lucy put into making their community a beautiful place to live. Those who wish to honor a loved one this season can visit the village website to learn more about the tree dedication program. Emails can be sent to sustainability@lancastervillageny.gov. These are just some of the reasons Lancaster is the great place it is to live. There are many different organizations within the village, and at one time or another give so much to us with their talents and generosity. These groups, along with many others, are looking for volunteers of all ages and abilities. They would be happy to have additional members, and those interested should research how they can get involved with local nonprofits and clubs. Happy holidays to all. Turning to the Be Heard column from the Lancaster Depew Bee. I want to comment on that lady that was right on the button when she mentioned that the activities every weekend in Lancaster are way overdone. I hope it isn't going to happen next year like that. You got Broadway tied up, and you get all of the roundabouts tied up, and you can't get no place on the weekends. I'd like to comment on the Village of Lancaster Department of Public Works street sweeper. It doesn't do a very good job, and it's brand new. We paid almost $300,000 for it. There's no vacuum assist on it, which they should have. It doesn't pick up leaves and other debris. And did we buy this for the downtown area and not the residential streets? It seems like a waste of taxpayers' money. It's been over a week since the time changed, and still no one in the village has bothered to change the timing of the songs coming out of the Opera House. If the village doesn't care, perhaps the residents don't care that much either. We've been listening to the same songs for 15 years. How about taking a break? My concern is an article that appeared in the November 20th Lancaster Bee about the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York is going to float $67.7 million in revenue bonds for more development at Fox Run of Orchard Park. I wish somebody could explain exactly how this works, because we've looked at Fox Run and it costs $50,000 to get your name on the wait list, and it costs close to $750,000 to buy your way into the facility. So why are the taxpayers floating bonds of something that is going to provide housing for people who can afford these kind of entry fees? Plus, then there's a $5,000 to $6,000 per month rent that people pay on their apartments. I'm really confused. I mean, seriously, and I would really like a New York State legislator to pen an article that explains this whole thing in more detail, because right now it doesn't make any sense. I would like to make a comment about the drivers running the stop signs and traffic lights. I was almost hit the other day near my home because a driver just blew through the stop sign, and when I slammed on my brakes and honked, he threw his hands up at me like it was my fault. Also, the other thing is people crossing the double line and expecting you to move out of their way when they're in your lane when passing a stopped vehicle instead of waiting for the way to be clear. It's amazing that there are not more accidents where people are hurt. The discourtesy of people is getting out of hand. I was on Aurora and going down the one way where it's very narrow and cars were in my lane and I had no place to go. Maybe people need to get a little more aware of what they're doing. Boys and Girls Club comments. Currently, thoughts about the Boys and Girls Club, regardless of the message, can only be printed as a letter signed to the editor. Please send any letters about the Boys and Girls Club directly to the editor's email at jsinner@bnews.com. You're listening to Around Our Area on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 2:40. Turning to the Depew Bee for December 4th. Depew High School class submits proposal for historic landmarker by Rachel Ross. In Maria Hoch's U.S. Politics and Governments class at Depew High School, the past several months have seen students doing more than just observing government process, but participating in them, as the class has submitted a proposal to designate a historical landmarker in South Buffalo, bringing awareness to a communities forgotten by time. Through the assistance of Hogue and school librarian Lisa Martini, students recently underwent the process of submitting a proposal to the City of Buffalo to install a marker in the Outer Harbor acknowledging the history of Seawall, a community that called the area home in the late 1800s. According to documents gathered by the class, the community of Seawall, also sometimes referred to as the island or the beach, existed in the area between the Buffalo Lighthouse and Wilkinson's Point from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s. The community consisted of small homes located amongst the area's grain elevators and included a schoolhouse, a church, general stores, and restaurants. The town's inhabitants were eventually evicted in order to make way for industrial development. However, it took several years for all residents to be removed. According to Hogue, who had worked at the city's historical society before teaching, she was inspired to engage her students on the project after attending a conference on landmarkers and working with Martini over the summer to develop an accessible class initiative. I actually found an historical map at the Historical Society which proved Seawall's existence, and then from there I worked over the summer to locate resources and to bring them together. And then when September came along, I enrolled Martini in the project. Hoke said. Her expertise and knowledge about not only curating things, but organizing it and making it student-friendly and approachable was really helpful. From there, Hoke advised the class on the steps necessary to create the proposal, including gathering primary and secondary documents, proving the community's existence, writing a letter of intent, and choosing the wording for the proposed marker's inscription. We spent days in the library learning about it, and we were in separate groups that had different jobs to do so that we understood the full process of what it was like creating a historic marker, said Depew senior Claire Lathner. Then we went on an actual field trip to pick our location and to see other examples of historic markers in Buffalo. According to Hogue, the students' work has been improved by the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, a nonprofit organization that provides grants for historical markers. Currently, the class is awaiting approval from the City of Buffalo to install the marker at the students' chosen location. Hogue said the project has been beneficial for her students in developing their comprehension of government systems on a deeper level. I think it's good for their understanding of the larger community that we live in and to expand their horizons and to teach them about a process, Hogue said. We always talk about government and what people's role in government is, but people mostly don't know beyond voting and being part of a community what that actually means. And because of that, we lose connection to our past and where we come from. Doing something like this not only puts them in touch with the government today, but also puts them in touch with the government in the past and helps them put into perspective how communities develop. Lanthier said that going through the process was not only educational, but that it was fun and engaging to learn about local history. It led to us to learn more about our government as a whole and that process in general. And it was just really fun to learn about a community that was so close to us and that we could even be related to because they were so close to Buffalo, Lanthier said. Hoke said that anyone interested in supporting the project can do so by raising awareness of or reaching out to local representatives to help facilitate approval. Ultimately, although the seawall community belongs to everyone, their actual housing and location was at the Buffalo Outer Harbor, which is an area that we all experience, and it's connected to larger suburbs and communities. So if we could have any kind of community support to drum up awareness, that would be really helpful, Hoke said. Continuing with the Depew Bee for December 4th. Depew Fire Department elects 2026 line officers. The Depew Fire Department, one of the largest all-volunteer fire departments in Erie County, has announced its chiefs and line officers for 2026. Brian Musilak has been elected chief, with John Huey serving as second assistant chief. Together, they will lead the department's members as they respond to fire, rescue, and emergency calls from stations that protect the village of Depew around the clock. In addition to the chiefs, the membership elected Robert Murawski as president and Norbert Rizustek as vice president. Christopher Peters Sr. was chosen as department secretary, while Father David Boriak will serve as treasurer. Robert Gugimos will serve in the role of financial secretary, supporting the department's administrative and fiscal operations. The Depew Fire Department has provided volunteer fire protection and emergency response to village residents for more than 125 years, relying on neighbors who donate their time to serve the community. Department leaders express gratitude to outgoing officers and thank the membership for its continued dedication. For more information about the Depew Fire Department or to learn how to become a volunteer firefighter, visit depewfire.org. Senior Wishes launches Simple Wishes for the holidays. Senior Wishes, a local nonprofit that grants life-enriching wishes to lower-income seniors in Western New York, is launching its annual Simple Wishes for the Holidays campaign. Senior Wishes volunteers will deliver gifts and spend time with those who may be struggling throughout the holiday season due to isolation, illness, the loss of a loved one, or general loneliness due to having little or no family. This is in addition to the seniors in the community who they will be visiting, reaching more than 300 seniors this year. For more information on Senior Wishes, visit www.seniorwishes.org or www.facebook.com/seniorwishes. You are listening to Around Our Area on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 2:50 and turning to the Kentown Bee for December 4th. City Council approves tax rate of 3.92% for 2026 budget and a tax levy of 4.5%. The City of Tonawanda Council approved a tax levy of 4.5% for the 2026 budget and cut about $598,700 in expenses from the 2026 budget. The property tax rate will increase by 3.92%, which translates to a homeowner paying $91 more in property taxes for a home assessed at an average value of $180,000. The original budget proposed by Mayor John White had a 2.19% property tax increase. However, it had almost $600,000 in additional expenses and $3.4 million taken out of the General Reserve Fund to balance the budget. With the new rate and reduced expenses, the city will take out $2.6 million of the General Reserve Fund instead. Second Ward Council member Chris Fisher explained the items in the budget whose expenses were cut down by the council. The property reassessment expense was cut down to $10,000 from the original $100,000 that was budgeted. While it is recommended that the reassessment be done every 4 years, it's not a necessity. The last reassessment was done 3 years ago, and it would be prudent to put it off until the 2027 budget, until development projects such as the Riverview Residential Complex, Smoke on the Water, and other developments are at least 50% complete in late 2026 and will get the assessment roll. When these properties get on the assessment roll, they'll contribute to the revenue of the city. The current city attorney is a holdover attorney and is not appointed by the mayor. His salary was $98,000 in 2024 and $98,763 in 2025. The council decided to not raise his salary to $100,000 and keep it the same as the new mayor will appoint a new attorney and they can negotiate a new salary. The retirement costs were budgeted at $500,000 in 2024 and $475,000 in 2025. In 2026, the council reduced it to $175,000. While about $500,000 was budgeted in each of these years, nearly $300,000 to $350,000 was not used and was returned to the general fund. This overage wasn't recognized until the audit, explained Fisher. The contingency contractual expenses were similar to the retirement costs, so the budgeted amount was reduced from $85,000 to $35,000. Police Department had a banquet expense for $3,000 in 2024 and for $4,000 in 2025. For 2026, they asked for $4,500, and the fire department asked for $4,000. By cutting the banquets, the council cut an additional $8,500 in expenses. Fisher explained that it is not fair to allow certain city departments to have banquets and not the others. It will also not be fair to taxpayers to increase the taxes for banquets. The budget for the trees, flowers, and seeds were cut by $1,000 and sandy loam and topsoil by another $1,000. And this $2,000 was given to the city cemetery capital projects so they can purchase flower, soil, and other supplies for the cemetery. The youth board director received a salary of $5,051 in both 2024 and 2025. The salary was raised to $5,100 in 2026. The council transferred this amount from the youth board's salary expenses to equipment and supplies for the youth board. Fisher stated, "We want to make sure that the money we budgeted for the youth all goes to youth and not to someone's salary, as this is a volunteer position." In the previous years, the director was given this salary and she paid for supplies and other costs of events out of that money. If no money was spent, then that money was hers to keep. So there was no incentive to spend the money on youth. But with allocating the money directly to the board, equipment instead of a person, we can ensure that this money is dedicated solely for the purpose and not for someone's pocket. There is more incentive to spend the money on youth, which is the intended purpose, added Fisher. About $80,000 was reduced from the hospital insurance, making the increase to $5,045,700 for 2026 from $4,350,000 in 2025. Continuing with the Canton B, town urges residents to keep sidewalks and parking areas clear of snow. As another harsh western New York winter settles in, Town of Tonawanda officials are reminding residents of their responsibility to keep sidewalks and parking areas free of snow and ice. With freezing conditions already making travel difficult, the town emphasizes that maintaining clear sidewalks is not only a courtesy, it's the law. Many residents rely on walking or public transit as their primary mode of transportation. Uncleared sidewalks can create significant barriers, particularly for people with disabilities, seniors, and children. Town leaders stress that a wide, passable walkway is essential for safety throughout the winter months. According to Town of Tonawanda Municipal Code, Chapter 183-5, property owners or occupants must keep sidewalks adjacent to their premises in good repair and free and clear of snow, ice, dirt, and other material. For snow and ice removal, the sidewalk must be cleared to a minimum width of 2 feet along its entire length. The town recently amended Chapter 183 to add Article 4, entitled Dumping or Plowing Snow onto Parking Places for People with Disabilities. The ordinance explicitly prohibits any individual, business, or organization from knowingly plowing or depositing snow onto spaces designated for people with disabilities, rendering them unusable. Violations of the new article are subject to fines. Town officials are urging residents to do their part to keep neighborhoods accessible and safe in this season. Please be a good neighbor and help maintain a safe pedestrian environment, the town said in its announcement. Take responsibility for your sidewalk and parking lot by clearing snow and ice. And from the spindle column of the Kenton Bee, fun winter facts. If you live in Buffalo, you can't escape plenty of snow. It's predicted that this 2025 to 2026 season, we will see 25 inches more snow than last year. Here are some fun winter facts as you settle down in a warm, cozy spot and look out for snow. The winter solstice is the shortest day of the year and marks the official start of winter. The Earth is actually closest to the sun in December. We have all heard of snowbirds. If you want to travel, then you can also go to the southern hemisphere. Countries like Australia, New Zealand have summer when we have winter, and they have winter in June, July, and August. So you can spend summer in the middle of the year in the northern hemisphere and summer towards the end and beginning of the year in the southern hemisphere. The Arctic fox has fur that turns white in the winter for camouflage. The coldest temperature ever recorded was minus 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit at Vostok Station in Antarctica. I can't imagine what that would be like. I saw a video where it was like minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit somewhere in Siberia, and it was so cold that the resident of that town brought boiling hot water in a saucepan out the door, threw that water up in the air, and it fell as ice on the ground. Hot water turned into ice in just a few seconds. Now that's cold. Every snowflake has 6 sides because ice crystals naturally form a hexagonal shape. The largest snowflake ever recorded was 15 inches wide and 8 inches thick, and it fell in Fort Keogh, Montana in 1887. In New Zealand, a kind of cricket species called Weta freezes completely solid during the cold winter months by entering into a state of suspended animation. They achieve this by dehydrating their cells and using cryoprotectants in their blood to encourage ice to form outside the cells, preventing lethal damage. When temperatures rise, they thaw and become active again. When snow melts, it produces about a tenth of its volume in water. That is about 10 inches of snow melts, it melts down to 1 inch of water. While Buffalo is notoriously known for its snow, the largest amount of snow ever recorded in 24 hours in the United States was Silver Lake, Colorado in 1921 at 76 inches. Coming in second is Georgetown, Colorado on December 4th, 1913 at 63 inches. While seeing birds migrate during the winter is a common sight, monarch butterflies are the only insects that migrate, and they can travel up to 3,000 miles to overwintering sites in the Oyamel fir forests of central Mexico or to the California coast. They also like to hibernate in the same trees every year. You've been listening to Around Our Area, a weekly look at community newspapers from around Western New York. Stay tuned for our second hour. Your reader for this hour has been Patricia. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of our Southtowns papers, including Orchard Park, Hamburg, East Aurora, and West Seneca's B papers or Sons. At 3 o'clock, we have the Ample Eagle, and at 4 o'clock, we have the Grand Island Niagara County Tribune Sentinel. Stay tuned for these readings and more throughout the day, and contact us if you have comments, suggestions, or questions. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings 24 hours a day of newspapers, magazines, books, and other printed matter to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. The Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service is broadcast almost. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision,